Chapter 11, Where the File Things Were. The monster stomps through the forest of filing cabinets, and its feet sink deep into the sand, which is now back all over the ground. "What is this Santa doing here?" growls the monster. "It should be filed under S." It angrily scoops up a handful of sand and marches across to a filing cabinet drawer marked S. It stares at the open drawer and roars, "Fee, fo, fo, for who has opened up this drawer? Fee, fo, fo, cabinets, who's been messing with my cabinets?" The monster rips a coconut palm from the ground and shoves it into a drawer marked C. It grabs an armful of rocks and drops them in a drawer marked R. It snatches a bird from the sky and is about to shove it into a drawer marked B when Joe jumps up and yells, "Stop! That's no way to treat birds. Birds belong in the sky where they can be free, not locked away in a drawer marked B." "Uh-oh," I whispered to Terry. "She's done it now." "Who are you?" says the monster. "I'm Jill," says Jill defiantly. The monster glares at her. "Do you open up all my filing cabinets?" "Yes, I did," says Jill. "You had animals filed in there, and it's not right." "Yes, it is," says the monster. "It was exactly right. I'm very good at filing. I had the snakes under S, I had the toucans under T, and I had the lambs under L, and I'm going to put you under M for meddling humans who should mind their own business." "Animals are my business," says Jill. "I run an intergalactic animal rescue service, you know, and that includes animals on Earth who are trapped in filing cabinet drawers. And I run a filing business," says the monster. "I love to file, and I found an island that needed filing, and that's exactly what I did until you came and messed it all up. But I'll soon fix that." The monster pulls the drawer all the way open and sees Terry and me. "Aha!" it says, scooping us all up. "More meddling humans." "Put us down right now," says Jill. "Please," says Terry. "Pretty please," I say. "I'll put you down all right," says the monster. "Right down into the M drawer." "Wait," says Jill. "I don't think M is right." "I think it's perfect," says the monster. "You're a bunch of meddling humans. What else could it possibly be?" "Well," says Jill, "you could file me under G for girl and Andy and Terry under B for boys." The monster frowns. Yes, that's a much better idea." It opens the B and G drawers. "But hang on a minute," I say. "You could file us under occupations, me under W for writer, Terry under I for illustrator, and Jill under A for animal rescuer." "Or," says Terry, "you could file us under names, T for Terry, A for Andy, and J for Jill." "Or our eye color," says Jill. "B for blue, G for green, and H for hazel." Stop, says the monster. "You're getting me all confused." "Sorry," says Jill. "We're just trying to help." "Well, you're not helping," says the monster. "But I know what to do. I'll cut you all up into pieces and file a piece of you under each of the letters you have suggested. Oh, I'm such a clever filing monster. Now, where did I put my scissors? Oh, yes, here they are, under S, where they belong. The monster puts us down and gets out a very large and very sharp-looking pair of scissors. Eek, says Jill. Yikes, says Terry. I wish we'd stayed in jail. I'd much rather be jailed than cut into little pieces. Me, too, I say. I never thought I'd say this, but I wish the Storey police were here right now to arrest this crazy monster. Where are they when you really need them? We are right here, says a voice behind us, and we are putting a stop to this ridiculous story before it gets any worse and any more crimes are committed. We are putting you all under arrest. Chapter 12. The Really Big, Really Deep Hole. We have no choice but to surrender. The Storey police arrest all of us, including the filing monster, and march us down to the beach where their boat is waiting. Where are you taking us, I say? To see your old friend, Judge Pumpkin Scones, says the chief. She's not a friend, says Jill. She sentenced us to 1 billion years in prison. It would have been better for you if you'd stayed there, says the chief. This time, she's probably going to sentence you to 1 zillion years. But why am I under arrest, says the monster. Because we're about to cut everybody up with a big pair of scissors, says the chief. Young children may be reading this book, perhaps even at bedtime. They don't want to see people being cut into pieces by monsters. It could give them terrible nightmares. Now stop arguing. Put those scissors down and get in the boat with the other prisoners. As we climb aboard the boat, we see that the other prisoners are an old man almost bent over double, a woman with bright red frizzy hair wearing a flower pot on her head, a moose in a doctor's coat, and an angry-looking man with a really big red nose. Excuse me, says Terry to the man with the big nose. You seem familiar. Have we met before? Of course we have, you clown, says the man. It's me, your publisher, Mr. Big Nose. I should have guessed you two had something to do with this. I'm a busy man, you know, and I haven't got time to be arrested for story crimes that I didn't even commit. You published their books, says the chief. You're just as much to blame as anybody. You should have checked them more thoroughly to make sure they didn't break so many story rules. I didn't even know there were story rules, says Mr. Big Nose. Ignorance of the law is no defense, says the police chief. But what about us, says the moose, who I am amazed to realize is the one and only Dr. Moose, author of The Splat in the Hat. Why are Beatrix Potty, Boris Benback, and I being arrested? Because, says the chief, your books break lots of rules too, and I believe the children of the world deserve better. I mean, really, what sort of lesson is anyone supposed to learn from ridiculous stories about pooping rabbits, splatting splats, and foolish filing monsters? Well, says Beatrix Potty, children can learn a lot of fun facts about nature from my books. For example, some rabbits poop a lot. And, says Boris Benback, where the filed things are teaches children that even though there's a place for everything and everything has a place, that place may not necessarily be in a filing cabinet drawer. My book is just supposed to be funny, says Dr. Moose. I want to make my readers laugh because after all, laughter is the best medicine. And I should know because as well as being a writer and an illustrator, I'm also a qualified doctor. Tell it to the judge, says the chief. But I don't have time to tell it to the judge, says Mr. Big Nose. I'm a busy man. So am I, says the chief. I've 8 prisoners to deliver to the judge, and that's exactly what I intend to do. I'm sorry, everybody, I say. It's all my fault. I should never have tried ending Terry's dumb story with and then suddenly we woke up and realized it was all just a dream. That's what alerted the Storey police in the first place. Don't be so hard on yourself, young fella, says Boris Benback. What do those Storey police know? Some of the most famous books in the world have ended up with waking up and discovering it was all just a dream. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, for example. And don't forget The Wizard of Oz, says Beatrix Potty. Thanks, I say. That makes me feel a lot better. Do you think I should try it again? No, says Dr. Moose quickly. Twice in one book might be a bit much. Then what are we going to do? Says Jill. Well, says Mr. Big Nose, the way I see it, we've got 5 authors and 4 illustrators here. You lot should be able to come up with a creative solution to our problem. Dots, says Terry. They make great holes. Remember? Holes, I say, in a boat. Are you crazy? We'll sink. That's exactly what we want, says Terry. If we sink the boat, the Storey police won't be able to take us to jail. Quick, Boris, Dr. Moose, and Beatrix, help me draw some dots on the bottom of the boat. The more we can draw, the faster we'll sink. With pleasure, says Beatrix. I love drawing dots. Me too, says Dr. Moose. Let the wild dotting begin, says Boris. It's not long before water's gushing in through all the newly drawn dot holes. Abandon ship, yells the chief. We're taking on water. Abandon ship. We all jump overboard and splash our way back towards the shore. We drag ourselves out of the water and up onto the sand. Yay, says Terry. My plan worked. We escaped from the Storey police. Well, yes, I say, but not for long. Look, they're coming. Terry turns and sees the Storey police advancing towards us. Don't worry about it, he says. I've got an idea for another story, and this one has a really good ending. Terry clears his throat and begins narrating. Once upon a time, on an island, Terry, Andy, Jill, Mr. Big Nose, Dr. Moose, Beatrix Potty, Boris Benback, and a filing monster were surrounded by a load of angry Storey police who wanted to arrest them and put them into storytelling jail for a zillion years. So the brave hero Terry drew a dot. And the dot got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it stretched out and got even bigger and deeper and bigger and deeper, until it became a really big, really deep hole, and the Storey police all fell in. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. Hooray! Shouts Dr. Moose. Now all the storytellers of the world are free to tell whatever stories they want without fear of the Storey police. Terry peels the hole off the ground and gives it to the filing monster. You might like to file this under H for hole, he says. I'd love to, says the monster, and after I've done that, I'll get on with filing the rest of the island just the way it was. Please don't file any animals, says Jill. They don't like it. Or trees, I say. Or rocks or sand, says Terry. What? Says the monster. You mean I should just let it all lie around in a big mess? Yes, says Jill. It's called nature, and it's the way it's meant to be. But I'm a filing monster, says the monster, looking sad. What will I do if I can't file? Well, says Mr. Big Nose, I could use an enthusiastic filing monster like you in my office at Big Nose Books. Oh, that would be wonderful, says the monster. I always wanted to get into publishing. It starts with P, one of my favorite letters. Terry giggles. P, he says. So, says Mr. Big Nose, what happens now? I need to get back to work. I'm a busy man, you know, and you need to get your book done by 5 o'clock today, or else we can all sail home on your dot yacht. Can we, Terry? Says Jill. No, I say. It's not there anymore. One-Eyed Pete's toilet. I hate pirates, sighs Terry. So what are we going to do? Says Jill. How will we get home? Terry strokes his chin thoughtfully. If only we had a cane basket, he says, and a little bit of fire. I could inflate a dot and turn it into a hot air balloon. I have some fire filed under F, says the filing monster, and a cane basket under B. Here you are. Thanks, says Terry. Terry draws a dot and attaches it to the basket. Everyone climb in, he says. You'll pile into the basket, and Terry uses the heat from the fire to inflate the dot. As the dot rises into the air, the ropes tighten and lift the basket off the ground. We'll be home in no time, says Terry. Then we can get started on our book. The sooner we get started, the better, I say. There's a lot for us to write about. So much has happened today. Dr. Moose and Boris and I could help, says Beatrix. After all, we can all write and illustrate. Of course, says Dr. Moose. You know what they say, many hooves make light work. I couldn't agree more, says Boris. And I'd love to visit your treehouse. I read so much about it. And I'd like to come and meet all your animals, Jill, says Beatrix. And they'd love to meet you, says Jill. They're big fans of your books. Well, that's settled then, I say, as the hot air dot rises higher and higher into the air. You're all invited to visit and help us with our book. Up, up, and away, says Terry. Chapter 13, the last chapter. We float up, and away, until eventually we come to the city. We drop Mr. Big Nose and the filing monster off at Big Nose Books. Thanks for the ride, says the filing monster as we float away. And don't forget, yells Mr. Big Nose, your manuscript is due at 5 o'clock, or else. We float on a little further, and finally, at long last, we are home. What an absolutely splendidly stupendous treehouse you have here, says Dr. Moose. Yes, I've never seen one quite like it, says Boris Benback. Do we have time to look around before we start work, says Beatrix Potty. Of course, I say. We can take you on a tour of the main attractions in our penguin-powered flying treehouse tour bus. Jill gives Boris, Beatrix and Dr. Moose a ticket each. "Tickets, please," says Jill, collecting the tickets as they climb aboard the bus. Terry gets in the driver's seat and I put on my Treehouse tour guide hat and start the tour. "Welcome aboard," I say as we take off. Our Treehouse has 117 levels. Some are fun, some are scary, some are fun and scary, and some are scary and fun. "Do you have any food?" says Boris Benbeck. "I'm famished." "Of course we do," I say. "We have ice cream, lollipops, popcorn, marshmallows, pizza, some marine sandwiches, and a chocolate waterfall. You can swim and eat at the same time." "Do you have anything a little more filling?" says Boris Benbeck. "I'm so hungry I could eat a couch." "We have just the thing," I say. "Terry, take us to the all-you-can-eat, including the furniture level." "Roger that," says Terry. On the all-you-can-eat, including the furniture level, Dr. Moose pulls some daffodils from a vase and eats them. Then he crunches up the vase as well. Beatrix chews on a chocolate-coated chair. Boris eats a whole couch. "Ah," he says, licking his lips, "just like the couches Mother used to bake." Terry, Jill, and I end up eating everything else. "Being chased by the Storey police sure does give you an appetite," I say. "Roger that," says Terry. "Well," I say, "let's get on with the tour." We all file back onto the bus and continue the tour. We tour high, we tour low, we tour fast, we tour slow. We go and we go and we go and we go. "Stop," says Dr. Moose, pointing at her beautiful sunny meadow full of buttercups, butterflies, and bluebirds. "Can we land down there?" "Of course," I say. Terry parks the bus and we all get out. "Oh, look," says Beatrix, "a family of field mice. Stay still, my little friends, while I sketch you." Boris Benbeck lies on his stomach in a patch of buttercups. "My, this sun is doing my back a power of good," he says. "Yippee! I'm free," says Dr. Moose, galloping off across the meadow as fast as his thundering hoofs can carry him. "Dr. Moose," I yell, "stop!" But Dr. Moose just keeps going and going and going. "I hope he comes back in time to help us write the book," says Terry. "Not when he gets like this." "He won't," says Beatrix, looking up from her sketching. "He can run for days, you know. He may be a doctor and an accomplished author illustrator, but he's also a wild animal." "I think I can get him back with my moose lasso," says Jill, pulling a long piece of rope out of her portable animal rescue kit. Jill swings the rope expertly around her head and then lets it fly. It sails across the meadow and snars Dr. Moose around the antlers. Jill drags Dr. Moose back to the bus. "Sorry about that," says Dr. Moose, panting. "Once I get going, I just can't stop myself." "No need to apologize," I say as the bus takes off. "Now, if you look down there, you'll see a giant fighting robot arena." "Giant fighting robots," says Beatrix. "Can we have a go?" "Are you sure?" I say. "The giant fighting robot suits are pretty dangerous." "Danger's my middle name," says Beatrix. "Mine too," says Dr. Moose. "Mine as well," says Boris, and without waiting for permission or for Terry to land, all three leap from the windows of the bus. By the time we land, Beatrix, Boris, and Dr. Moose are suited up and ready to rumble. They circle each other warily until I ding the bell and then the fight is on. Kick, punch, stomp, crush, throw, pound. They blast each other with laser beams, high voltage electricity, and fireballs. The whole tree is shuddering and shaking. We should stop them, says Terry. I know, I say, but how? It's not like we can just go in there and break it up. We can't, says Jill, but maybe the Trunkinator can. The Trunkinator's strong, I say, but I don't know if he's stronger than 3 giant fighting robots. I think he is, says Jill, and besides, what's the alternative? We can't just let them fight until the whole tree's destroyed. I'm gonna fetch him. Jill comes back with the Trunkinator and whispers instructions in his ear. The Trunkinator leaps into the ring. Robo Beatrix, Robo Boris, and Robo Dr. Muse stop fighting with each other and turn to face the new opponent. Robo Boris steps forward. Put up your duke, he says. I can't watch, says Jill, covering her eyes. Boris Menbach is definitely asking for it, and the Trunkinator certainly lets him have it. With one punch of his mighty trunk, he sends Boris flying out of his robo-suit up into the air and down onto the watermelon smashing level. Robo Beatrix and Robo Dr. Muse immediately back away. I surrender, says Beatrix. Me too, says Dr. Muse. I leap into the ring, hold up the Trunkinator's trunk, and declare him the winner. Beatrix and Dr. Muse get out of their robo-suits and rush to the watermelon smashing level. We fly over and land the bus next to Boris, who is lying motionless beside a pile of unsmashed watermelons. Beatrix is kneeling beside him, fanning his face. Are you okay, Boris? Says Beatrix. Never felt better, says Boris, suddenly leaping up and stretching at his full height. The Trunkinator punched me so hard he unbent my back. I haven't felt so good in years. Me neither, says Dr. Muse. We look around to see him enthusiastically smashing watermelons. I've always wanted to smash a watermelon, he says, and now I have. Can we smash some watermelons too, says Beatrix? Well, I say, it's not an official part of the tour, but since we're here, we may as well. After all, those watermelons aren't going to smash themselves. Well, this is a lot of fun, I say, but we've got a book to make. Mullet's down, everybody. It's time to get back on the bus. Our visitors resume their seats and Jill hands out hot towels so everybody can clean themselves up. We fly through the branches at top speed and land in a high-tech office. We all leave the bus, grab pencils, pens, paint brushes and paper and set to work. Authoring and illustrating and illustrating and authoring and illustrator authoring and author illustrating and author illustrator authoring and illustrator author illustrating and illustrator author authoring and author illustrator illustrating and author illustrator illustrating and authoring and illustrator author authoring and illustrating and author illustrator author illustrating and illustrator author illustrator authoring and author illustrator illustrating author illustrator illustrating authoring until it's all finished. That was fun, says Boris, but how are we going to get it to your publisher in time? It's almost 5 o'clock. Couldn't you use your tour bus to deliver it? Says Dr. Muse. I'm afraid not, says Jill. The penguins are tired and need a rest. Never fear, says Terry. I could make a draught. What's a draught, I say? It's a remote-controlled dot, says Terry. Like a drone, but more dotty. Here, I'll show you. Oh, how cute, says Dr. Moose. Yes, says Jill. It looks like an animal. Does it have a name? It's called Draught, says Terry, and it may be cute, but it has a very important job to do. Terry attaches the manuscript to Draught and picks up the remote control. Draught rises into the air and zips out of the treehouse. We can track its progress on Draught Cam, Terry says. We gather around the Draught Cam screen and watch as Draught travels over the forest, across the city, in through Mr. Big Nose's office window and lands on his desk. Excellent, says Mr. Big Nose. 5 o'clock right on the dot. I'll deal with it immediately, sir, says the filing monster. I'll file the draught under D and the manuscript under M. Well, that worked out quite nicely, says Terry. Yes, I say, I hate to admit it, but your dumb story wasn't so dumb after all. I agree, says Jill. In fact, I think it's the undumbest dumb story I've ever heard. Thanks, says Terry. Hey, Andy, do you think we could make a dot level in the treehouse? You mean a level where there's nothing but dots, I say? Yeah, says Terry. A non-stop dot level. I mean, why not, I say. The dots really came through for us in this book. It's the least we could do. We can add it to the list of new stories for the 130-story treehouse. Yay, says Terry. Let's get started right away. Hold on, I say, not so fast. Right now, we have something much more important to do. What could be more important than building the next 13 stories of our treehouse, says Terry. Having a pajama party? That's what I say. There's one starting in 5 minutes, and everyone's invited. Hooray, says Boris. I love pajama parties. So do I, says Dr. Moose. Me too, says Beatrix. Can all you animals come as well, Jill? Of course, says Jill. They love pajama parties. Well, what are we waiting for, says Terry. Let's do it. So we do. This is the end of the 117-story treehouse. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. Bye.